what I like to tell people is, listen, if I manage to do it as a Latina from a tiny ass little country, you can do it. You can do it. There's so many options and opportunities out there. It's not gonna be easy. It's gonna be scary, but it's so worth it. Like, it's so worth it to just do what you gotta do, enjoy the life you want to enjoy. It's worth the risk, 100%.
Welcome to the Travel Not to Escape podcast. I'm your host, Jolene on the Go, solo female traveler and creative entrepreneur. Think of me as your skydive instructor, empowering you to take the leap into solo travel to push past your fears and transform your life. Join me every Tuesday as we explore the world of solo travel with purpose and discover how you can use it for your personal transformation, learn how to make meaningful connections around the world, and reignite your spirit of play. We aren't just talking about traveling to find ourselves anymore. We're all about doing the work to understand who we authentically are, breaking through our limiting beliefs, and taking the leaps to manifest lives we are excited about. Through interviews, solo episodes, meditations, each episode is packed with practical tips, strategies, and inspiring stories from guests who have transformed their lives through solo travel. Whether you're a seasoned traveler or just starting out on your journey, the Travel Not to Escape podcast is here to inspire and empower you to solo travel with purpose. Strap on your helmet. We're about to jump headfirst into the journey of a lifetime. Are you ready? Let's go. Welcome, fellow navigators. Before we dive into this week's episode, I want to invite you all to get your passport to connection. What is that? Well, we talk a lot about connection here on the podcast, how to connect with yourself as well as make meaningful connections with others. But I know it's not as simple as going to a meetup event and making instant best friends, at least not always. And there's work that you need to understand yourself and what you're looking for in friendships, where to meet them if you're traveling or moving to a new city, how to handle rejection and filter for like-minded friendships, and how to maintain these friendships over time and distance. So if you've ever felt the pangs of loneliness, and well, who hasn't, and wish you could just figure out all these secrets to these questions, then Passport to Connection may just be for you. So this is a one-day live virtual workshop and monthly mastermind where I'm going to empower you with all of the knowledge and actionable steps and direction so you can make yourself more magnetic, reignite your spirit of play, and in turn, identify and attract all those beautiful soul-aligned friendships that you're looking for. And this isn't just a workshop. This is a community in itself. So head over to travelnottoescape.com/friends to get more information and sign up. And hurry, this is going to be an intimate workshop, so make sure to save your spot today. And with that, let's dive into today's episode. Welcome to today's Travel Not to Escape episode. We have our guest, Elky Ramirez, on today. She is a graphic designer and a digital nomad, and also one of my friends. So I'm so excited to have her on. We're going to get to know Elky's story of transformation through travel in today's episode. And because we're actually filming this episode on Valentine's Day, we are going to be focusing this episode on dating. So dating as a nomad, as a traveler, all the fun dating stories. This is what the episode is all about. Thanks for coming on the show, Elky.
Thank you for having me. I am very excited, but also not excited because I should definitely be doing something more romantic on the 14th of February. But
I think friend love is also exciting. So
listen, it is Love and Friendship Day, so I'm going to value the friendship portion of it today.
Yes, exactly. And where are you joining us from right now?
Currently in Medellin, Colombia.
Oh, nice. So Elky and I actually met in Playa del Carmen a year and a half ago now, actually. I know, it's so wild. And then also actually saw you in Medellin as well. So that was fun. And have we run into each other yet in the other places? No, not yet. TBD. I think we were going to do Asia.
Yeah,
but
I was supposed to go to Asia, then I had a gut feeling didn't happen, but maybe in the future we can run
maybe
into
in
each other.
Spain. Yeah, exactly.
For sure.
Perfect. So I am going to ask you. So I ask this question to everyone that goes on the show first as a little bit of an icebreaker and to get to know you on a different level. So what was your favorite childhood activity?
Funny enough, I used to love reading book. Like you would always catch me at the public library or bringing books from home. To the point where one time we were at Walmart and I was with my mom and my aunt and we got like separated. So my mom thought I went with my aunt. My aunt thought I went with my mom. Turns out I was with neither of them. They're freaking out on the Walmart, right? Or like they call Walmart, and they're like looking for
All those
me.
are.
And guess where I was at? I was literally sitting at the book section, like on the floor with like a bunch of books spread out on the floor. So thankfully, a great hobby to have as a kid. One of my favorite activities. Actually won an award to be like the with principal for a day. Turns out it's just me getting like free lunch and hanging out with the principal. I didn't get
I
to
mean,
make up
that's
all the
nice.
rules I wanted. I really wanted to kind of be a dictator at my school, but it's whatever, you know. It is what it is. You get what you get. But yeah, I would say reading was one of my favorite activities, and I love like fantasy or like science fiction. So it's just like you get to imagine all these like worlds and things and these characters. And I've gotten out of the habit a bit, so that kind of sucks. But definitely one of the best things I experienced growing up.
Oh, nice. I love that. And I'm actually linking that now to what I know about you. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense. So there's 8 different play personalities.
Okay.
And one of the play personalities, so there's like kinesthetic, moving in your body, there's collector, collecting things, creative, explorer. And what you mentioned, reading the books, that's the storyteller play personality.
Okay.
And that makes a lot of sense because I know you love telling stories.
That
And
is so true.
you know, and in order to reignite your spirit of play as an adult, I would actually recommend, not necessarily just reading, but reincorporating things in that storyteller type of genre of activities. So you can go to improv classes, post more content, which I know that you're doing already,
Do
where you're telling
podcasts.
stories, podcasts, exactly, like leaning into these things that reignite that specific spirit of play for you, which is storytelling. So
Okay,
that would be
interesting.
an aspect to look into, but I can already see how you're doing some of those things in your life currently.
Okay, cool. I like that. Yeah, I never really thought about it.
Yeah, and it's so fascinating when we go back into childhood and we're like, our kid versions of ourselves already knew the answers. And
Yes,
then, we had to forget all of that to go to school
that's so
and,
true.
live the societal life.
Be put in a box. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So my goal is to go back into before we went into the box and figure out who that version was, so that we can rediscover our authentic selves through
I
play.
love that. Okay.
So, speaking about childhood and like our background, so tell me, where did you grow up and where are you from and how did you start solo traveling?
All right, you ready for this? Okay, so
Tell us the story.
because people always get confused and I always forget to like explain because I was born in Costa Rica, so I identify as Costa Rican. But when I speak to people, usually it's in English, and so they get a little bit confused because they're like, "Why is your English so good?" And I'm like, "All right, well, very important. I grew up in the States from like ages 3 to 12, so that might play a role in the whole English situation." But funny enough, even since I was little, we moved around, maybe not like a ton, but it still felt like I've never been in one singular place for very long. So we left Costa Rica when I was 3 years old. So I have like no memory of Costa Rica at all. And we moved to North Carolina, this little small town called Cherryville, which is so southern that they pronounce it Cherville. That's how you know you're in the South, right? Cherville. And I was there, I think, up until fourth grade. In fourth grade, we decided to move. So we moved to the city called Cary, which is a little bit closer to the capital of Raleigh in North Carolina. Literally lived with my family. So it was really nice. I could just go knock on the door of my cousin and be like, "Hey, do you want to play?" And so we stayed there until I was like 12 years old. And by that time, my brothers are like 7 years older than me. So they wanted to go to university. And very important, I was a legal immigrant. So we weren't legally living in the United States. We went legally with our visas, but we overstayed. So by the time my brothers were like 19, 20 or so, or 18, I guess, they wanted to go to school. They wanted to go to university, but because we were illegal, we couldn't get scholarships. They couldn't really like work or do anything. So that's what made us decide to move. So we moved back to Costa Rica. We moved to Alajuela, which is where the airport is at, let's say, in one of the cities. But we stayed with my uncle. We own a house in Costa Rica, but it was being rented. So we had to wait until those people left so that we could move in. So I lived in that city for like a year or so, started school, which was definitely like a very, very different experience because like in the US, my school was like 3 stories tall. We had like a baseball, football, basketball areas. Like it was really, really nice. I think we even had like elevators and stuff. Versus going to school in Costa Rica, I sometimes didn't really have a chair to sit on, and I had to like go to another
Oh, wow.
classroom and ask if I could like borrow a chair. It was just very, very different. And especially where I went for sixth grade, because in Costa Rica, the system is a little bit different. From like first to sixth grade, your primary school. From 7th to 11th, 12th grade, you're in secondary school. So it's not like the US where it's like primary, middle school, and then high school. And my last year of primary school, I went to this tiny, tiny school. Like it was just one grade for like one class of sixth graders. That's it. And so it was, going from like this huge school to this tiny school. And then from there, I moved back to our original hometown for seventh grade, and I stayed there until I was 12. So I've always been kind of like moving around a little bit. And then once I graduated high school, I moved to another city so I could go to university. And then once I was in university, I got to a point where I was just like, I'm burnt out. I'm tired of this. I'm like, I asked myself, I went through a personal experience of like losing my dad to cancer in that moment. And I asked myself, because he passed in like less than a year. I told myself, if I die tomorrow, am I happy with the life I've lived so far? And the answer was no. And in that moment, I had been doing everything by the book. I was in university. I was working full time in the career that I was studying for my university. I had my own apartment, like everything I was doing by the book. And yet I was so unhappy. So at that point, I was like, no. And I decided to just kind of quit everything, and I took a gap year. Thankfully, I had saved up a lot of money, and I didn't really know what I was doing, but I remember in that moment I had finally gotten a visa to go back to the States. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do that. And originally I was just going to move to the beach in Costa Rica before I had gotten my visa, but I was like, it doesn't make sense for me to move to the beach, pay rent, and then just to like leave. So I decided to take that gap year. I ended up going also to Europe to do volunteering, teaching English, and that just sparked traveling. And it's funny because one of my brothers, he traveled like a lot. Like he's been, I don't know how many countries. And I was always like, traveling isn't really my thing. Like it doesn't call my attention. Like, it's not for me until I did it. And then I was like, wow, this is crazy. And I will say, like, for me personally, I don't even think it's about traveling, or I didn't even start this journey because I was traveling, but because I was trying to find myself. So
Yeah.
then it just became like, oh, I'm finding myself, trying to figure out what I want to do with my life, who I am. And at the same time, I got to experience all these different things. And I think that also helped like shape me in a certain way. So that's how I accidentally became
Oh,
a
wow. I
designer
fell
nomad.
into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I love the question that you asked yourself of, if I died tomorrow, would I be happy with the way that my life has gone? And I asked a similar question to myself when a friend had passed. And it was this quote of, if your life flashed before your eyes, would you enjoy what you saw?
Yeah.
And it's a very stark question when you start to think about it. And your answer is no. And you're like, oh,
Yeah.
something like the
Has to
veil
change.
lifts.
Yep.
It's a
And
scary moment.
the good thing is I can ask myself the question now, and the answer is absolutely yes.
That's
Except
amazing.
I really need to go pet a baby panda. That's it. That's the only thing left on my list. After that, I'm good. I'm good to go. I'm ready.
Oh man, that is still on the bucket list for sure. But I do love your obsession with pandas. I think that's so cute.
Me
So
over here,
for the
but
listeners out there, Elky has like pandas everything. Literally, she's
yeah.
showing like there's like panda headband, panda towels, panda stuffed animals, panda slippers that I know of.
Yeah, pretty much. I
So
identify
yeah,
with
so that would be the
pandas.
one thing. I love that you shared your story, and that also you mentioned that travel wasn't even something that you thought you would like until you did it. And then now, you've been, how long has it been now since you've been digital nomading?
I quit my job because I used to work at Amazon, right? Which was like the dream job as a graphic designer, like as someone has zero experience. And I was what, like 21, 22 years old, right? I quit that in 2018. And I don't know how the hell I have not had an office job since.
6
Like it's
years.
still
Almost 6
baffles
years.
me.
Yeah, that's amazing. And that is such a leap too. Yeah, to go from Amazon, one of the bigger
Yes.
corporate companies that everyone does want to work for. And yeah, so what did you do after you quit that job?
So I quit that job. For a year I didn't work. Thankfully had a lot of savings. Then after that, that gap year. I took a trip in the States and I went to Europe a little bit. And then I came back to Costa Rica. So I started teaching English online with a platform called Cambly. And like one of the biggest struggles that I deal with is that because I am from Costa Rica, I don't have any type of papers or nothing related to the US. The opportunities that I have available to me are very, very small because my country itself is already really small and remote opportunities in that moment were just not really heard of. And the ones that did exist maybe were not paid very well or they were hybrid of some sort. So I knew I wanted to teach English because I had gotten a certificate for TEFL. I got certified for TEFL, which is one of the reasons I was supposed to move to the beach because while I was working at Amazon, I took a leave of absence for a month and I got certified because in my head I'm like, it's always good to have secondary options just in case. And I had gotten a scholarship, so I wasn't even paying for it. I just had to pay for like staying at the beach. But I don't mind paying for housing in the beach versus having to pay for like a course. And so I when I was at the beach, I remember I would like wake up, I would go make myself breakfast, and I was like kind of a little bit in the jungle. I would go by the pool, suntan, I'd like walk or take a bike to classes, I'd go have lunch at the beach. At night, I'd go like for dinner. And it was just like such a different lifestyle than me leaving my house at like 7 in the morning, or like 8 in the morning, getting to work at 9, clocking in, clocking out at 6, getting home until 8 p.m. because of traffic. It's already nighttime. Basically, get stuff ready for the next day and go to sleep. Like, I did not enjoy that lifestyle, which is one of the reasons I quit because they wouldn't allow me to be remote. So when I went to the beach and I got a taste of what life could be like, and I would see people like at the beach, like selling bread or cookies. And I'm like, if they can do it, why can't I? So that just made me think like, you know what? I don't want this lifestyle that I currently have anymore. And it was scary. I'm not going to lie. But I told myself at the end of the day, if I was able to get into Amazon before, I can get into it again, or I can find another job. I can figure something out. A job is always going to be there. They're not going to go anywhere. So I just took the risk and I started the English teaching. So I did Cambly because it was the only platform available to me as a non-American that wasn't trying to pay me like crap. I even started painting canvases. So I would start offering and I would just buy the little canvas. I had some paints and it took me forever. I was definitely undercharging, but it was at least some form of income. So between those two, that I kind of lived off of that for a bit. And then thankfully I was living with my mom in the moment, so I didn't have to pay like rent or anything. But I was helping with like gas, electricity, lights, water, if I could, like groceries and stuff. And then for a brief moment, I did stop working remotely for a brief moment, which is when I worked at a hotel. Because I was trying, when I got back from my gap year, I was trying to move to the beach because that was my goal. And I found a job to work as a receptionist at a hotel. And the thing is, they let me live in the hotel as well as work in the hotel. So I was like, this is perfect. And turns out I was thinking, let me teach English like at night when I'm not working, and then during the day work at the hotel, and that'll save me a lot of money because I'm not paying for food or accommodation or anything. There was no Wi-Fi in my bedroom when I was living at the hotel. I was like, dang. So I started earning very, very, very little money. But I was like, it's okay, like I don't have to pay for it. I ended up getting fired. That's a whole other story I don't want to get into. Let's just say men. Men ruined it for me. And that ended up actually forcing me to have to find an apartment to live in literally the next day. So I ended up renting an apartment. I'm teaching English again. I don't have Wi-Fi. Like for the first 3 weeks of that month, the Wi-Fi was not working. So then the last week, I had to get in $500 worth of teaching because I had to pay rent. The anxiety that I dealt with, I couldn't sleep because I was like, I don't have money to pay my rent. And thankfully, when I was working at the hotel, one guy tipped me $100 because I told him my story about wanting to go back to the States and dealing with the visa and this and that, and how I was applying for the diversity lottery visa. And so he gave me $100 and he's like, follow your dreams. I was a recipient of that visa and now I live in the States thanks to that, which was really inspiring because the whole time I thought, is this lottery real? Is this maybe a scam just to see who wants to go to the States so that they can forever cut me off or something? And him telling me that and telling me that he actually worked now for the government in the States and stuff, that was like very uplifting and motivating. And thanks to his $100, I was able to meet rent. Otherwise, like,
Wow.
I don't know what I would have done. And then after that, I had a whole month to work, so it was fine. I was living a little bit month to month, but I was living my dream. I was living at the beach. I was living, the life that I had seen for myself until COVID hit. And thankfully, right before COVID hit, I actually got a job working for an American company doing graphic design, and they hired me because of my work experience at Amazon. So I started my first like fully remote job, like official job. And then COVID hit. So then I went back to my mom's place because I was paying like $500 rent. And I was like, my mom doesn't have a job right now. I would much rather this money go to her. And it's COVID, so that I can't even enjoy the beach. So what's the point? So I moved back home with my mom. I helped her pay for the things. And then I was in the process to get citizenship for Spain, and turns out that I had to go to Spain. Even though it was COVID, because it was like a legal process or whatever, they gave me permission to go. So I actually took my mom with me, and we went to Spain, and we actually traveled together for 3 months. So then
Oh,
after
wow.
that, that's when the digital nomad lifestyle like really kicked off, because in the US at first it was just like more of a gap year and I wasn't necessarily traveling too much. And then this time, I guess I started my digital nomad journey with my mom, now that I think about it.
Oh,
So
I love that.
it was great until it wasn't.
As traveling with family is.
After 3 months, I'm like, yeah, after 3 months, I'm like, all right, mom, I need to leave Europe. I'm like, I'm going to Colombia. She's like, oh, we're going to Colombia. I'm like, no, I'm going to Colombia. You're going back home.
Oh my
And
god, I love that.
And the funny thing is, I ended up coming to Colombia because I was trying to find a cheap country in Europe or outside the EU, let's say, so I could, because I had already been 3 months. So I needed to be somewhere else for 3 months so I could go back to Europe. And I wanted to go to, I think it was Istanbul. But when I was trying to find like housing, I was getting harassed in like the Facebook groups by the man, like trying to like message me and this and that. And I got scared and I'm like, I'm not doing this. So then I remembered that right before COVID hit, I had planned to come to Colombia because my family had come here and they were like speaking great about it. I was like, okay, I guess it's time to come to Colombia. So I came, girl, I fell in love with Colombia. Look at me now, here I am, right? Like after that, I would go to any other country and all I could think about was Colombia. And it was just crazy. And I know you're very into astrology. I don't remember if it was with you. I think it was with another friend where they showed you the astrology maps and the lines that run through certain places. My line runs straight through Medellin. Like, and the line was something about like where I like flourish the most, or where I feel like my best self, or like where everything comes easily to me, straight through Medellin. And it's so accurate. Like,
Wow.
it might not even be the city, but me in the city, I feel like there's nothing I can't do. There's nothing I can't accomplish. Everything I put my mind to, it's mine. So,
Wow. So
and
it's probably your Jupiter line.
I have no idea. I don't know anything about astrology. Everything I know is like because of you. That's about it. But it was crazy because this whole time that I've been traveling, or as soon as I left the States, my whole life goal was to just go back to the States. But it never worked out for me. I even tried joining the military. It just did not work out for me. And so this whole time I've been trying to find a place. So remember I told you that I never thought like I liked traveling, and I don't even really travel to travel. Traveling became a thing of me trying to find home. I was just trying to find a place to call home, and I couldn't find anything. And I remember in the US, there's like this, I would walk through a neighborhood and this like gust of wind would hit me. And it just felt like this sensation of like comfort. And it would feel like, okay, this is home. And so the gap year that I was in the States, I would feel that. And I was like, this is home. Never felt it anywhere else until one day I was walking in Medellin through a park and I felt the gust of wind. And I was like,
I love that.
this home. And it just like clicked for me. And I was like, this is it. This is home. And I swear to God, like every time I fly into Colombia, I just feel like I'm home. I'm home. And it's crazy because I haven't even been here that long, but it just feels so right. I tell people all the time, it might not be that your life isn't what you want it to be, or it might not be that you're the problem. It might be your environment. Because
Yes, 100%.
even like people that knew me before, when they see me now, like after I came to Colombia, they're like, wow, you really flourished. You're really like, I can see it in you. We were talking about what I did for work. So after I was doing that job here, I ended up quitting because my mental health was going to hell. And I was trying to be I was trying to be an au pair, a nanny in the States. That didn't pan out. So again, I went back to teaching English. And then eventually one of the girls that I used to work with at my old job was working on a new job. And at this moment, I was in PDC, which is where I met you. And my first week, I was freaking out because I had to leave Colombia. I didn't have a job. I didn't know how I was going to pay for stuff. I didn't know what to do. And within that first week, I got the interview for that job, the job that I have now, and I landed it. And it was basically the same role as before. Thanks to that girl that I met in my previous job, she recommended me. And
Oh,
so that's
wow.
the job that I have right now, which is also like fully remote, also with graphic design, designing images for the Amazon listings for that company. So that's what I've been doing now. And this year, I really want to get into content creation, and I really just want to make that my income. And I try to find different ways as well to get like residual income. Like I design templates for Canva. I also started like an Etsy store. So everything that I can do to get like a little bit of income here and there, because I've learned that you can't depend on a singular thing or a singular company, because at the end of the day, you're just a number to them. And what I
Yeah.
like to tell people is, listen, if I manage to do it as a Latina from a tiny ass little country, you can do it. You can do it. There's so many options and opportunities out there. It's not gonna be easy. It's gonna be scary, but it's so worth it. Like it's so worth it to just do what you gotta do, enjoy the life you want to enjoy. It's worth the risk, 100%.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. It's so inspiring because you can get caught up in like, is it even possible, especially with my type of visa or with my type of experience, and you're out here proving that yeah, it is. Is it going to be hard? Are you going to go through some
Woo, yeah.
setbacks? Yes, yes. 100%. And that's the thing is like sometimes you're like, yeah, everything is working out. I feel like I'm here, I'm finally here, and then something can kind of come out of left field and you're like, okay, cool, I have no job and I have no
Yes.
income. We're going to start from like the universe likes to humble us. And I think that that's, it goes in waves, and it's life is interesting in that way. But
Yep.
if you can, what is that statement? If you're going through hell, keep going, right? You just keep going, keep pushing your way through, because you will make it out the other side if you don't quit, right? Like you're not going to fail unless you quit, because you just got to keep going.
Yeah. And if we want to get real deep, I think one of the hardest lessons I've learned, because I'm very hard-headed. Like when I want something, and I'm going to do whatever I want to do or can do to get it. Like I said, like I wanted to move to the States, right? I tried everything. I tried to be an au pair. I tried to get a scholarship. I tried to join the military. That in itself should say a lot.
Yeah.
And it was just closed door, one after another, until it got to a point where I broke down. I was like, I lost my sense of purpose, because I knew my whole purpose this time was to go back to the States. And when I realized, when it really hit me, that's not happening for you, Elky, I broke down. I was like, I lost my sense of purpose. And a human being with no purpose, no like goal, it's the worst that can exist. And I remember I would just wake up every day being like, what's the point? And
Oh, yeah.
it wasn't me being suicidal. Like I didn't necessarily want to die. I just didn't see the point of living anymore. Like I was just like existing to like eat and sleep, and that's about it. And that's where I learned my lesson, that sometimes when things don't work out for you, you just have to let go and let life guide you on the path that it wants to take you. Because we think that we know exactly what we want or what we need. We have no clue of the things that exist out there. We only know what we've been exposed to. And the moment that
Yes.
I let go, in what moment did I ever think that Colombia was going to be my thing? That never occurred to me, never in a million years. But when I got broken down so much that I was like, all right, life, do whatever the hell you want to do. I'm done. I don't want
Yeah.
to drive the wheel. I'm like, Jesus, take the wheel, because I don't know what's going on. That's when everything just started working out for me. That's when the traveling happened. And every time I would think, okay, what do I do next? What do I do next? I would just let it be. And wherever I felt that I was getting kind of like, oh, I want this, and I was trying and it was just like not going for me, I would just learn to let go. I'd be like, okay, this is not it. Let go. And ever since I learned that lesson, my life has gotten so much better. So I have a friend, for example, that she's dealing with like a job that she's not enjoying. And I told her, listen, if you feel like things are getting really, really hard constantly, nothing's working out, because that's not the path you're supposed to take. And as scary and as difficult and, as it is, it's time for you to let go. And you can't receive new things if you're holding on to old things.
Oh,
So
yes.
I told her, this job might be your old thing, and you're not receiving this new job or this new source of income or this new lifestyle that you're supposed to take, because you're holding on to it. And as scary as it is, because trust me, I get it, I'm like, you might have to let go. At the end of the day, you're going to be able to find something to survive. It probably might not be pleasant. But if this doesn't work, to just let go, there's always going to be something to fall back on, always. But you won't know until you try. And that's something I've been telling my mom lately as well. She's 62 years old. She's holding on to our childhood home. I told her, Mom, you need to let go. You need to sell that house. You need to go do the things that you want to do. Stop thinking about the future, because you are already living in your future. You are 62 years old. You still have a lot to live, but stop thinking about the future. Enjoy your present. Enjoy it right now. You've worked so hard for this. Enjoy it now. And I see so many people holding on to the future, the future, the future. And yes, it's important to like look forward to it and like prepare for it. But another quote, me saying all the quotes, is it's bold of us to assume that God is going to give us another day. So it really plays onto the fact that like you're planning for this future and you're being very bold to assume that you're getting this future instead of focusing on the present that you are being given. Like the days that you do have right now, you're worried too much about days that you are not guaranteed. So I was like, damn, that's crazy. Because I really do be thinking about the future. And who says I'm going to have a future? For all I know. And I'm just assuming, and we just assume and assume and assume, and we don't enjoy the things that we are being given or the cards that we are being dealt with in this moment. And we just leave everything for the future.
Yeah, it's so important for the gratitude, to show the appreciation of the present moment that we get to live.
Exactly. And we always just wait and wait and wait and think, oh, maybe once I get this, once I get that, I'll be happy. Once I do this. And it sounds weird, but happiness really is a choice. It's not something that you can acquire. It's something that you have to choose to be. And obviously, I don't expect like toxic positivity where you're like, oh, I'm happy every day. I choose to be happy every day. You're allowed to have like your moments. We all have our moments. But the only way that you can be happy is to choose to be. There's nothing that's going to happen in life that's going to suddenly make you happy. Oh, I checked this off my list. Now I'm happy. Now I accomplished something. No, it's a choice. There's always going to be something. So, and it's a hard choice. I struggle with it too. But like, that's where I have to sit down and really be like, this is my present. This is what I'm doing. How many people would love to do this? And it might not be everything that I want, but it's still something that past me wanted. And so I have to be grateful and choose to be happy for what I am receiving in this moment. So yeah, it's been life has slapped me in the face.
It's been a journey.
It's been a journey, but I've learned that the best way to live life is to really just let life live. Basically, just like let it do what it needs to do. It's gonna take you where you need to go, and you might be hard-headed like me and think you know exactly what you want in life. Take that, you have no clue. You don't know about your version of Colombia. Listen, until
yes, this is so true. And you've brought up a couple points in there that I really resonated with. The question, what's the point? That haunts me. And every time I hear a friend asking that question, I know exactly what mindset they're in at that moment. And it's a pretty rock bottom mindset when you get to the point where you're waking up in the morning and you're like, what's the point? You know, I'm gonna go back here in bed anyway, you know, and you feel like a zombie through your day, and you're just trying, like you don't even want to get out of bed because you know what that looks like for you. And then once you're going through your day, you're just like, I just can't wait to go back to bed at this point, because what's the point of me doing anything? Literally. And it is a tough place to be in. But again, you push past that, you start to change things. And now I can't even, like, I feel for that version of myself that used to ask that question, because now I think back, and even in my low days, I'm like, I still get to live. I still get to like feel the sun on my skin. Like, even if, you know, things aren't working out, and you're like, you know what, I'm alive. And that's even just the point in itself. Absolutely. Is I get to experience one more day. But yeah, when you're in that low point, it's hard to show that appreciation when you can't feel that lightness. So it's a really important question to ask. And then the other thing that you mentioned too is that you can't. It's a similar quote that I heard recently, is that you can't, if you're swinging through branches, you can't grab on to your next branch if you're holding on to your other one still. And that's the kind of like the same thing where, you know, you need to clear the space. You can't hold on to both. You can't grab that next branch if you're still clinging on to the last one. And, you know, what are you holding yourself back from by doing that? And you don't think that you're like, oh, I could do both, or I can, I can keep this and go forward, but you don't even realize energetically what that's doing. It's you telling the universe, no, I'm so scared. I don't trust the process. I feel like I'm going to fall if I don't cling on to this last branch. And that fear is holding you back from really taking that next, like that big reach that you need in order to grab that next branch. much, even if it's just by like millimeters, you're holding yourself back.
Yeah, and it like in my head, which is what happens to me. I'm like, I'm capable of doing everything at once. Why can't I do this and that at the same time?
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, it's an energy thing. And sometimes we wish things worked a certain way, but it's just not really up to
Mm-hmm.
us. And life really is like, oh, you want this other thing? First, you have to grow out of this other one. You have to grow
Yeah.
out of what you currently have. Because it's kind of like a thing of like, and when I say life, like you can take that as however you want. It could be God, it could be your religion, it could be whatever it is. To me, it's just kind of like this spirit that we exist in, this what they call like the red line or something like that. I don't know what to call it because I haven't experienced it firsthand. I don't have the answers to it, so I just call it life, but it can take many shapes and forms. So to me, life is wiser than I am. So like if you want to think of it as like God knows better than I do, right? Life knows that if I don't let go of this thing, I can't grow to be able to accept the other thing that I want. So unless I let
Mm-hmm.
go of this branch, I'm not capable of grabbing onto the next one. And people might be like, well, I can do both because I've thought it. And I still like, again, I'm hard headed. I'm like, why can't I do both? Why can't I have my cake and eat it? That makes no sense. I'm like, can I just have half of the cake and then eat the rest? I still have my cake, right? And I've learned, again, through hard experiences, that it's because you need to get to a point, like you need to get to a level of growth, or you need to be in a specific situation that will only happen if you do let go of what you're
Mm-hmm.
trying to hold on to so hard to be able to evolve to the next spot. And there are going to be circumstances where it does allow you to kind of like hold on to both for a little bit, but then it gets to a point where you're
Mm-hmm.
going to have to let go of it if you really want to keep going forward. So I think as human beings, that's always going to be the most difficult part, or like the hardest challenge, but and the scariest. But one thing I've definitely learned is nothing worthwhile comes easy. If it's easy, it's probably not worthwhile. But what is for you will be meant for you, and nobody can take it from you. So when you're
Yes,
feeling like
definitely.
negative, like, oh, just remember, if it's meant for you, it will be for you, which we might talk about with the dating portion of this as well.
Yes, yes. And as we pivot into that, so closing off your story of transformation, that's absolutely beautiful. I love that you're taking these leaps, not knowing if you have it yet, but trusting that you do, because the universe will provide, God will provide. So I acknowledge you and the risk that you've taken, even when it's been scary, even when it's gone the other way, and also the path that you've gone on to be more self-aware as well of what's going on, beyond the day-to-day details, like having that higher level look onto your life and realizing, okay, I'm going to let go and let things come to me because I've done all I could, and it's not working out. So maybe I just listen, and trust that it will. So I really love the lessons that you learn, and what you've shared with us regarding your story, because I think it is really inspiring for people that maybe at that point where they're asking, what is the point? Or, why isn't anything working out for me? And it is, hey, the universe, I've experienced this recently myself, is you can ask the universe for something. Or like for me, for example, I'm like, oh man, like I really want to launch my business, but I really just want space, distraction free time, some stability to be able to actually focus and work on this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because the universe did give me that, but it gave it to me in the form of being in the Philippines
Yeah.
at my my mom's place. And it also, it's kind of I'm being pushed into this, maybe not in like the most favorable circumstances that
Yep.
I had imagined. I thought I'd be on like the beach somewhere and like working, and I realized, no, like the universe is like, no, you need distraction free time and stability, so here you go. And I'm like, oh, that's not what I thought it was going to be.
Hold up. Did you get my message clearly? Did
Yeah,
something
yeah.
go wrong?
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, I guess you did give me exactly what I asked for. But I just thought the environment was going to be a little bit different. But
Nope.
you're right. If I was on a beach, I'd be distracted. I get this.
Life is
And,
funny.
yeah, it's the funny way that the universe gives you the things that you're asking for, just not
Yep.
in the way that you thought it would come. You're like, oh, dang, should I have added an extra line when I wrote down that manifestation list? Like, I
Literally.
really
And
missed a detail.
dang. And funny enough, like speaking about manifestation, which is something I've also like learned about with you, is that I don't consider myself good at manifesting because I'm like a very logically minded person. So I feel like manifesting requires a little bit of delulu, just a tiny bit
Yeah.
of illusion, right?
Just a little. Yeah.
Just a little bit. And I don't have that. I'm a hopeless romantic, but I'm not delusional. And so I struggle with manifesting because people are like, "Oh, manifest a car, manifest a house," and I'm like, how would that even work out, right? Like I don't have the imagination or creativity to think of how something like that would actually like happen for me, right? And so I'm like jealous because I see all these girls manifesting and getting what they want, and I was like, how do I want to manifest, but I don't know how to do it. And I saw this phrase that goes, show me how good it can get. And that is my
Mm.
absolute favorite phrase because the weight of specifically manifesting something or specifically asking for something is lifted off of my shoulder. Because like we said, sometimes we want something, but we don't ask for it in a specific way. We receive it, but it turns out we receive it in a way that we weren't expecting. And for
Mm-hmm.
me, it's beautiful because it's like I receive what I need and you show me how good it gets, but I don't know what it is that I am expecting. And
Yeah.
my favorite part even about it is that it's made me a more positive person because every time I manifest the phrase, show me how good it can get, it kind of ticks something in my brain where I start to look for those
Mm.
things in my life. When something
Yes.
positive happens, I'm so much more aware of it because I'm like, wait, is this a response to my
That's
manifestation?
Yeah, that is exactly what manifestation is.
And so it made me realize, like, I feel like social media has this idea of how to manifest, of how we're supposed to do this, and I've come to realize there are many different ways of manifestation. You just have
Mm-hmm.
to find the one that works for you. And for me, it's that phrase. Like, I literally want to get it printed out in like my room and just stick it and say it every morning and every night. Show me how good it can get. And even when I'm like in tricky situations or like I'm feeling defeated or whatever, I just sit there and I'm like, show me how good it can get. Because
I
it's
love it.
also kind of like a challenge that you give life of like, all right, you say you can do all these amazing things, prove it. Prove it, you
Mm-hmm.
know? So I think it's beautiful as well because again, like I'm going through life. I don't specifically know what I want out of it. I'm still figuring it out as I go. I know certain things, but I'm not like 100% certain. So I still need life to kind of like take me on my little path. I still need life to hold my hand.
I have a friend who does the phrase, "What else is possible?" That's also great. I use this or something better because I am so. Speaking of manifestation, I do have a manifestation tracker that I published, and
Yes, I
on
know.
there I have the basic. I try to simplify it because it doesn't need to be a big, crazy, complicated thing. But the key components to it is recognizing the small things that have already come your way. Just
Yep.
writing it all down. You're like, even if you didn't think about it, it's writing it down, the act of whatever it is that you received that lit you up. You're like, oh yeah. And then I got that free coffee. And then I got tipped that $100 from the guy.
Yep.
And those little tiny signs that life gives you. I write that all down. And that's what the manifestation tracker is for, is to write down all these little tiny things, because as you recognize more and more of these in your life,
It
it can be
brings it.
tiny little things. It brings more of it because you're telling the
Yep.
universe, I see you, I appreciate you, and I'm ready for more now. And it does give
Yep.
you more. It's that or
Yep.
something better is coming your way. And it's trusting, seeing it, and then trusting more to come to you because it already
Absolutely.
has. And you're feeling that energy of knowing what it feels like when you get a manifestation, no matter how small. So when the big things come, you're like,
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
this is it. I see it. I see you.
I see you. Yes. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. So
Absolutely.
speaking of manifestation, one funny story which will lead us into the dating piece is in Playa del Carmen, and I should probably change the name so that it's not as obvious. Oh, I don't think he'll listen to this podcast anyway. Hopefully, but I
Hey.
remember. So my ideal guy, I had this list, and the list of my ideal man was like over 6 foot, software engineer, digital nomad, loves adrenaline sports, and had a very specific name. I don't even know how I'm going to describe it. Let's just say Alex, right? I don't even know. So that's definitely not the name, but like, let's just say I had a very specific name. So in Playa del Carmen, I actually met someone who checked off all these boxes, to the name, to the height, to the job, the activities. And then I sat next to him at a meetup, and we did a whole like day of adventures with other people. So the universe was like, hey, you asked for it, here you go.
Okay.
Except it wasn't him. Like, it's like he crossed off every single thing on my list except I couldn't talk to him. Like, there was no chemistry, it wasn't easy. There was no
Okay.
open-mindedness on his part. So there were some topics where I was like, oh, I don't like how you kind of that
Yeah.
perspective on it. So the energy level didn't match. And I realized at that point, oh man, I should have added a few more things. But I was like, whoops, okay, thanks, universe. You gave me exactly what I had on my list. And it
My
was
bad.
not,
That's on me.
it was, that was on me. But I'm like, that was like such a funny sign too from the universe. Because it was like, here you go, down to the name, down to the profession and their hobbies. And
That's
here,
crazy.
let's give you 2 hours where you only talk to him at this meetup. And then let's give you another full 8-hour day where you go on this adventure, this low pressure adventure together. And yeah, nope, was not the person. So
It'd be like that.
it does, yeah.
But funny enough, that's one of the things I've been meaning to do is to sit down and just write it out. I actually have a list on my phone. My list is very specific, like a little too specific. No names though, but it's kind of like all the things that I want in a person, and I add to it constantly when I like date someone or I meet someone. I'm like, oh, I like this about him. I just add it to the list. And one thing I've learned is like sometimes, like in your case, you might want something specific, but turns out that that's not actually what's best for you or what would make you happy. And it's just like until you experience it, you realize, like, oh, actually, I don't like this and this and this. And
Yeah.
with dating, I've come to like meet men that I'm like, oh, I never knew that I wanted this in a person, but now that I've met you, this is what I want. And that's I feel like that's also one of the reasons why dating is so important, because it's like you can't know what you really want in a person until you experience things, you know? And it doesn't necessarily have to be just dating, but just like through interactions and like observing. If I just sit you with no experience and I tell you what you want in a person, you're not gonna know. Or you might have an idea of like what you think you know, but you don't even know yourself. Like we're still in a journey of like getting to know ourselves. So how do we expect to know exactly what we want in a partner? Or not even what we want, what we need in a partner? Because that's what I tell people. I used to go on TikTok lives of like the speed dating things and just for like shits and giggles, right? And
Yeah.
I remember I would ask these men, I would be like, what do you want in a partner? And I'd be like, actually, no, let me correct that. What do you need? And I was like, that's what people need to start asking themselves, because what you want is very different than what you need in a person. I can want this and this and this and this, but what do I actually need? What's going to help build me? What's going to help me be happy? What's going to give me a sense of like comfort and happiness and just like that overall well-being? What do you need in a partner? People need to stop asking themselves, what do I want? What do you need in a partner?
Yeah. No, that's so important. And I love that you bring it back to, you don't know what you don't know until you're experiencing it. And it's very similar to your journey in getting to Colombia. You don't know what your version of Colombia is yet. You don't know all the entirety of the qualities that you're looking for in a partner until you go out and explore, until you go out and see for yourself and write down the things that you like and that work for you, that you need.
We get caught up in like this ideal partner that we like thinking of, and turns out we might not even have a clue of what this partner is supposed to look like. Like we have this idea of, oh, he has to do this. Turns out like you actually needed something completely different and you weren't aware. And maybe you've even like met the person or whatever, but because you were so close as to this is what I need or want or this and that, you don't realize that like it's kind of been in front of you this whole time until like it just kind of like clicks. And then it happens and you're like, oh. Because I know like some people get married and they're like, oh, he was not my type at all, yada, yada, yada. But they're like so happy. So sometimes with dating, you have to just kind of like also let go and let life guide you a little bit, open up to it a little bit. I do think obviously you have to have like some things that you know you want or isn't that, but sometimes we close ourselves off to this like giving a name. No, I'm kidding. I need a man with this name.
It was a very specific name. I don't know even why I had that as my criteria, but yeah,
That's funny though.
It was a very specific.
But it was
name.
an experience you had to have.
It was an experience I had to have. I met I don't think that I would find all those qualities in one person again. So it was literally the universe saying like, here's the guy. no, not him. Cool.
It's not
Now
what you
let's
want?
move
Oh,
on, you
okay.
know?
Yeah, it's like, oh, you got what you wanted and it didn't work out? It's almost like you should have listened to what I'm
Yeah,
telling you to do.
exactly.
Life
Yeah, the
listen,
universe is
life is
sassy.
sassy, so sassy. She can be a little bit of a bitch sometimes, listen, but I'm here for it. I
Yeah,
can't even
I
get
mean, we're
mad.
here for it.
Keeps
Yeah,
it
but it's very
entertaining.
similar to the branch. Yeah, it's very similar to the branch that you mentioned of like if you don't clear the space of what you
Yeah.
thought you wanted, you can't grab on to the next branch. So like
Yep.
letting go of whatever is taking that energy, whether that's like X's or an idea, a checklist, and in that in between spaces where you grow and learn whatever it is that you need to in order to find and reach that next branch.
Yeah.
So I think that,
Absolutely.
in a lot of ways, this translates through a lot of areas of life, especially dating, which is what we're talking about now too.
Yep.
We are going to stop right there for this week. Thank you for tuning into part 1 of this episode with Elky. And in today's episode, we were able to hear her background and the leaps that she took in her life to go from growing up in the US back to Costa Rica and facing some of the disadvantages and opportunities based on her Costa Rican passport, but really pushing through some of those difficult times, discovering how to manifest in her life, and being able to create a path as a freelance graphic designer, doing other types of opportunities, and now living as a digital nomad for many years now and based in Medellin, Colombia. And so next week, we are going to be continuing the conversation with Elky in part 2 of this podcast episode, where we dive into the fun stuff of dating as a digital nomad. I can't wait to see you all there. As we wrap up another beautiful and insightful episode, I want to leave you with an opportunity to deepen your journey of connection. So head over to travelnotsescape.com/friends to explore the Passport to Connection program. This is a unique one-day live virtual workshop and monthly mastermind that's designed to empower you on your journey of connection. And this goes from connecting back into yourself, reigniting your spirit of play, understanding what you value for yourself and in friendships, where to find these people, especially while you're traveling, and then once you actually meet them, how to turn those connections into friendships, handle rejection, handle filtering for like-minded individuals, and then once you're friends, how to actually maintain these connections, especially when time and distance are a factor. So this is a one-day live virtual workshop because I wanted to make sure you got all of this knowledge right away so that you can start connecting with people. So if you're going on a trip or if you're moving soon, I wanted you to have all this information, all of these actionable insights right at your fingertips. And you will immediately be joined by a small group of like-minded individuals that are going on the same journey. So you are also building community right along with getting all the information that you need. So go ahead and head to travelnotsescape.com/friends. I have more information on there. I am creating a very intimate group for this workshop, so make sure to sign up soon so you can secure your spots. And I am so excited to welcome you all into the program. Until next time, keep exploring, connecting, and playing, and safe travels, navigators.